Welcome to the Bay Insider with Amanda and Ying, where we talk about history, lifestyle, and real estate in the San Francisco Bay Area.
All right, let's talk about the market. We are 3/4 in now for the year 2025. How do we see the market? Where is that right now? Where do we see it going? Last time when we talked at Q2, the market was experiencing some downturn and slowdown. Do you still feel the same way? How do we see it today?
I do not. I think it's a really interesting time right now. We did see a lot of things pick up right towards the very end of summer going into the fall season, which we usually see always. But I think it was a little bit more this year, in my opinion, because I feel like the summer was super, super slow.
It was.
Um, and there wasn't a lot of change in value. Condos, especially as we talked about, were sitting. But now it's really picked up. But what we've seen is the interest rates, they went down to their lowest in a year, but then they rebounded and went back up pretty quickly thereafter. And I think, it's interesting because the interest rates, a lot of people say, oh, the Fed's going to lower interest rates and then mortgage rates will go down, but they're not directly tied, which we've talked about in the past. And it's kind of built into the numbers, right?
Yeah, but just to elaborate on that point a little bit. So the mortgage rate you see today, a lot of times already factor in the anticipated rate cuts. That's why after the rate cut, you don't see another drop because that's already in the rate a lot of times. Obviously, depending on the bank, depending on the timing, and depending on the package you're getting, things change. I did hear some people getting 4%, as recent as last week, 2
And
weeks
that
ago.
was a relationship
Correct.
loan, just to make it clear for people. If you have a decent amount of money sitting in a bank, one of the larger institutions, typically, they will offer you what's called relationship pricing for mortgages, and that's the only way you're getting a rate near that.
Right. It's just not just cash, stocks too,
Mhm.
asset.
Sure.
And then, some of my clients were getting in the 5s. The bottom line is it did get better. Obviously, interest rate changes every day. Gotta do your homework and
And they're
do
still lower, and the mortgage folks we've talked to anticipate a slow but steady decrease in the rates with some bumps up here and there.
correct. But the interest rate doesn't directly, immediately impact the housing market. However, it does impact people's psychology for buyers. Because one thing we do notice is that in the fall, we just see a lot more buyers, a lot more multiple bids. Amanda and I both worked on this fixer our firm had at the 110 Forest site, which is in the heart of West Portal. It's a great location. It's great shell, but it is a fixer.
Shell,
And
I think, is a good word.
it's a great shell. It's literally a shell. Listed at what 1295 and it received 38 offers and went for 2220, more
Yeah.
than 50% above asking. And most of those offers were cash offers.
Yeah, cash or private money because you couldn't get a loan on that building.
One thing we do notice is there are a lot of developers out there or people who are looking for projects.
I think the speculative buyers had
Uh-huh.
been sitting on the sideline for a while, especially with interest rates, because even though a lot of them are buying with cash, a lot of them are buying with private money, which is even higher interest rates.
10%.
Yeah, so that makes a big difference. And then, they have to do some kind of looking further into the future, right? Because these projects, especially with the building department, can take a year or more to create, and they wanna hold them longer than a year typically because of tax purposes anyway. So, yeah, so that shows that there's some faith in the future of the market more so than there had been in the past, I would say.
Absolutely. I think this just last year also, right? Especially last 6 months seem
Mhm.
to be huge number of people out there looking for projects.
And on top of that, you have a lot of people who are looking for houses who because the interest rates dipped down and just they got tired of waiting and, there's excitement in the city in general, right? With the AI businesses moving in, downtown turning around a little bit, Lori being the mayor, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. And so people are looking for houses and that's also pushing the market up. I've been looking in Noe, Glen Park, and Bernal, which is kind of like my epicenter of properties that I keep an eye on. The things that check the boxes are getting a lot of offers, and they're easily going 30% over asking for the things that check the boxes.
That's right. Absolutely right. Right, let's talk about the other part of our market, which is a condo market. The condo market has been struggling last several years, ever since COVID, and we talk about this over and over. But now we are seeing activities in this market, tick of activities. Partially is due to the rent increase. We talked
Mm,
about rent increase last time when we chatted. We say, hey, year over year, we're looking at the double digit, somewhere between 13 to 15% raise in rent in the city. So it will come to the point that people say, why don't I just buy? Why do I want to keep on paying rent? So we are seeing that. And also back to office, a lot of people need housing. So we do see a lot of more condos get absorbed in
mhm.
the recent quarter also. Don't you think, Amanda?
Yeah, definitely, especially in San Francisco because of the increased, I say, back to work and the AI companies.
Yeah.
Just as a comparison, I also work in Marin County, and the condo market there is not picked up that much. And then, of course, in Marin County, you have the addition of the fire hazards and things like that that contribute to
Yeah.
difficulty.
Absolutely. So, a good example is I have been touring with clients to this condo building built in 2022 in the middle of COVID, and it still hasn't been fully sold. And had been really, really slow, but they saw a major uptick this summer. We see quite a bit that happening in areas like SOMA and Mission Bay and South Beach.
Well, that's good. Do you want to talk about the numbers?
Yeah, let's talk about the numbers. So, we're going to go over the numbers really quickly because we have been talking about the same information every quarter now. So, I think you are all very familiar with that.
And
So,
if
for
you're not, you can go back in time and listen to some of our older ones.
yeah, we done episode for 10-year trend, so you can even go back to that. On this one, it's basically single family price. We reached a peak in 2022, 1825 as a medium house, medium price for single family home. That's 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, about 1,700 square feet, basically. And then we got hit pretty hard in 2023 and then we recovered, and then we recovered a little more year to date at 1.7 right now. And the price per square foot pretty much reflect the same story. Condos, just based on those numbers, you don't see the uptick we mentioned just yet. And I think that will come probably the next quarter because there's generally a little bit delay. With our day in and day out in the market, we see the condo market picking up. Maybe not in price yet, but definitely in transactions. Next one. So on this page, all we were saying is our transaction volume, where in 2021 we had a huge uptick. Now, just give you some perspective, our historical average is about 5,200, generally very steady around that number. And now 2021 is outlier. 2022 is still a little bit higher, and then we saw the major drop in 2023 because again, interest rate people can't move.
So we're climbing back up now, but we're still very low on inventory, historically speaking.
We are at least 10% below
Mhm.
historical average. Amanda, what else we want to share with our listeners? Any interesting update topics?
Yeah, there's a couple of new things that I think are pretty interesting, that may be affecting our market. One of them being the new ADU legislation, allowing people who created ADUs, which is an accessory dwelling unit, on their property built after May 1st can be sold separately as a condo. And this is a really big deal. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the condo conversion situation in San Francisco, but to make a long story short, for many, many years, really, you've only been able to convert 2-unit buildings into condos. And they were going to be bringing the lottery back, which is how larger buildings converted to condos. But that it looks like it's probably not ever gonna happen. We don't know for sure, but that it looks unlikely. But this would be a way where people who are house rich, right, but wanna stay in the area perhaps and need extra money can create this ADU, or they can take maybe a illegal unit that they had in their house, turn it into an ADU, and then sell it separately and be able to have extra money on hand. The point is to increase the amount of units that are available because we have a housing crisis.
Yeah. So the objective, well, there are several objectives. One is to increase housing supply, right? The city is short of housing units. But just to give some background info, the ADU effort has been going on for a while now. It has been under supposedly fast track in the last couple of years at least. Although we never heard a whole lot of movements in
Of
the
anything
fast
happening
or
quickly
anything fast
with
track,
relation
right?
to the building department.
Right, so it wasn't any faster, and, anyone who dealt with it had a horrible story to tell. At least that's what I heard. So this one under our new mayor is trying to truly change the process, and it only applies to units built after May 1st of this year, which is kinda interesting. That make
Mhm.
you question, like, what happens to the units that you approved before? I'm not saying there are many of them, but there are some.
There are definitely some. I mean, I've talked to people who've gone through the process and, they may or may not plan on selling them separately, but I'm sure those people who have gone through that process recently who don't fall into that category are gonna be slightly miffed that
Yeah,
they
no, tell me
cannot
about
take
it.
part.
Our mayor has been really pushing changes in the planning process. So we're hoping this is changing the law will actually be effective.
Yeah, so we don't know how it's gonna play out, and that's, with so many things. In theory, I think this is a great idea. In practice, we'll see how it goes, but for somebody, who needs to get a little bit extra money out of their house, or for those people who wanna buy in San Francisco and they don't have a lot of money to do so, buying one of these ADUs that has been turned into a condo may create a more affordable property to purchase. So, I'm
But it
hopeful and I'm interested to see how it plays out for sure.
just want to point out a few things. So this approach will apply to some people. Like Amanda is saying, people who have been in the house for a long time, they are house rich. So most likely they can get a equity line to do the renovation and this go through the condo conversion process and sell it. But the downside of it, or things we don't know, is how that's going to impact the value of your existing home. Some people may not care because, they are thinking, "Hey, I really need the cash. I need to worry about my retirement." So maybe it's not an issue. Some other people might care because that basically would devalue your current residence by a large amount. Just a classification of a single family home versus condo is very different. You are taking probably huge chunk value out of your house by doing so. But then
I
you
think
get to
that's a
sell the
really good
unit.
point that you're making, Ing, because I think, I talked to other people who had already started going through the process of turning their house into 2 units. This was even before this ADU thing. And they were walking down that road, and they had no idea that they were actually gonna be devaluing their property. They thought they would be adding value, which unfortunately, right now, a single-family home is definitely much more desirable, highest and best use in terms of value of what you're gonna get for the property.
Yeah.
So, it's important to know those things when you embark on this.
Yeah, so if you ever consider going down that route, give us a call. No, we can definitely talk about it. We can help you to Strategize a little bit maybe, or at least point out the things you should consider,
Right,
right?
and looking at what are your long-term goals for the house, for your life, for and what makes sense for you financially with regard to the value of your property.
Yeah, it's not so simple. Not so simple at all, but we'll keep you posted. So that's our wrap for ADU.
And then kind of going along with the whole fact that there are mandates now on housing that needs to be added, and this is all throughout California. But in terms of how to handle that in San Francisco, what has been determined, and the final vote, I think, has to happen before January, but it looks like it's all on track to happen, is upzoning, right?
Yep.
And what upzoning is all about is creating new rules for building within certain corridors. So, trying to encourage building along transit lines, business corridors. There's also already a bunch of areas that have this type of zoning kind of more towards the northeast of town, but now they're moving towards the west side of town where this hasn't been the case. So, the height limits have been like 40 feet. They're looking to go up and up from 4 stories to what, 6 stories, something like that, along those transit lines.
Depending on what you're talking about, some of them like over 100 feet. I forgot what the number was, but I remember this plan used to called something like West Side Zoning Plan or something. So it was really focused on the west side of the city
Mhm.
because the eastern part of the city or the older part of the city generally had a zoning plan accommodate what 4 to 6 stories or whatnot. It is the western side that didn't quite have it. If you follow some earlier episodes, you will see San Francisco really started with the northeast corner of the city and slowly expanded towards the western part. Most western part was developed after 1920s or give or take. And the zoning law is generally single family home. It's not densely commercial. So this law is to trying to capitalize the land we have, trying to build more units, housing units. Again, back to what we're talking about earlier, we have a state mandate of providing X number of, I can't remember the number, 30 some thousand housing units,
Mhm.
which we
By a
they
certain time. Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, we have to pass the law by January. But anyway, but based on what we have today, there's nowhere close to that. So this is to meet that requirement. But to do that, basically, the proposal is to capitalize on the western, more on the western part of the city.
'Cause that's where it hasn't been developed as much, and that's what
Correct.
I so, as you can imagine, this is a highly controversial situation. There's definitely the NIMBYs and the YIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard, yes, in my backyard camps. There's things to like about this plan, and there's things to be concerned about with this plan, and in terms of creating the extra housing, I feel like, personally, if it's done right, it can be great, right? If it's done tastefully, if it's done in such a way that they use city planning to encourage more business for those businesses that are in the area, and it's a pleasant kind of way to get around there, I think it can be great. Also, I think they have to be really careful about putting in the amount of affordable housing, market and below market rate, and intersperse that right,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then you actually end up increasing the cost of living. Because we live in a cosmopolitan city where that draws people from all over the world, you create more housing in these dense situations, people are gonna be buying in from all over the place.
Just to add to your point, we already see a huge number of speculators in the housing market. We're just talking about single family speculators. Now, for the commercial, same thing will happen. Do we really want some people come to buy out our commercial areas and build huge buildings along all those, all those major transit centers, which will and hurt our small businesses. Like a lot of them already have hard enough time. How are they going to get through this? And to lose the character of our city because we as a city, one thing special about San Francisco is we are unique. We have this zoning law, so we have the unique look and feel of different neighborhoods and different areas. Do we really want those tall buildings, the shiny buildings in every single major streets? Because that's going to change everything. And then obviously tenant protection and all that will be another issue. So my feeling on this is rather mixed. I don't know.
I mean, I think we need to increase housing along transit corridors. That's my feeling.
Correct.
I'm very nervous about how it's going to be done. As you say, with the shiny buildings, I don't need a bunch of shiny buildings. I want them to be tasteful and muted.
But you know what I mean, though, because generally what
Yeah, no, I
happens,
know.
it's all glass and
Oh,
they all have
no,
the same
I
look.
absolutely. I mean, I'm the first one to say that, a lot of what's happened in, say, Noe Valley with the new construction of just ripping out the souls of houses, to me, is an assault on, uh,
Our city,
our city.
architecture,
So
right?
I don't like that.
No, I
Uh,
don't like that either. Yeah. So we can see as much as we understand the philosophy or objectives behind this legislation, we're really worried about its implementation of it. Correct? That's basically we're on the same
exactly.
page on.
As with anything, because many times the most well-intentioned things go awry. So
Mhm.
we're I would say we are cautiously optimistic.
I don't know. I'm not quite there. I am really worried about it.
We'll see. So Ing is in the cautiously pessimistic camp, and I'm in the cautiously optimistic camp.
Right, right. On this particular
This issue.
legislation, yes.
So
So
it'll be interesting, and we're going to continue to do these, and we'll look back hopefully a year, 2 years from now, and I'll be right.
all right. Let's hope you're right. I like to see our city changing for better. And we do see a lot of positive changes lately, by the way, just for anyone who's listening, thinking San Francisco is so horrible. We are actually coming back very strong as a city. If you ever go to any of the festivals, events,
They're
and
amazing.
right? People everywhere. There's so much happening in the city, and it's getting a lot cleaner. I mean, I'm not saying it's clean. That's a high bar. It's getting cleaner, and it's getting far more lively.
Well, and I went down to Dogpatch the other day, which we've done an episode on, but a lot more of the building, like the Pier 70 and stuff, is built. I went to Bread Belly that's
Okay.
down there now. It's really cool. It's such a great combination of the old and the new. Just like Peter Lilienthal, who did the Potrero Hill episode with us, was talking about the museum that he's doing there and how they've been really cooperative and saving the old brick building. Like, that's what I wanna see in the development of San Francisco, is a melding of the old and the new, and
Yeah.
respecting the past, but moving into the future, and I feel like we're doing it.
Just like, so sometimes we go into a house that being renovated. Sometimes when they do renovation, they keep the historical elements of it. The house has the unique feel, but it's updated. And sometimes you go in the house, it's all black and white, shiny, like it could be in any city. What we're saying is we prefer to see the restored, updated property rather than the complete rebuild that doesn't have much
Mhm.
character,
Right. Right.
right?
Right, updated is good. We don't wanna be using, the heater from 1970 or something like that, but character,
Character.
we like it.
Character, architecture, and uniqueness, charm, all
Mm.
those things we love about our city. So let's hope those stay. Now let's moving on to the next interesting topic we want to discuss. Compass.
As those of you listening may or may not have any idea, but it's big news. Compass has basically started the movement to take over or merge with, I would say take over, right? Anywhere, which Anywhere is the conglomerate of Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Corcoran. I don't know who else, but anyways,
Was Cochrane in there too? I didn't know that.
well,
Really?
Corcoran, but not the Corcoran that is in San Francisco
I
that
see.
Zephyr became. They have an independent thing, so they're not part of that, just to confuse things. But at any rate, so it's basically like, 2 of the biggest real estate companies in the entire country coming together. What is it? $1.6 billion deal or something like that?
Just say it's called a monopoly,
Well,
right?
so that's the other thing is this is not a done deal yet. It has to go and be scrutinized and approved because it is such a huge deal and feels like a monopoly to me. And all of these things with the Compass private exclusives and trying to move away from launching things, everything on the MLS and moving into more of a closed circuit of business, which they've been doing. This clearly would give them a ability to kind of do that, and I think that that's very bad for the consumer.
It's horrible. We have been talking about this. Those off-market deals are generally not good for the consumers. It's for more for marketing for Compass than anything. And a lot of those deals don't really happen. Like, they just it's more just a marketing technique. However, the perception is the Compass is going to own everything. Compass is the only company in town. And then there's us. Let's explain where we fall into this,
Mhm.
Amanda.
Sure. Yeah, so, I mean, we are part of SIDE, which is a great organization that basically houses many, many different kind of independent groups and teams and agents, the top agents that are out there, and I think that, I don't think, I know that it's a very high caliber of agent that works for SIDE, and we have an incredible network. And what we really love about working under SIDE is that Underside, we're in Barbco, Barba Gelada. We've been around family-owned business since 1952, and we're able to keep all of that character and that independence in how we do business and how we work with our clients, but have side in the background to help with legal and the applications that we use to do documents and all of the non-fun stuff, right? But still have that network. So it's a very boutique way of doing business, and I feel like that is the best thing for the client because our customer service is individualized, very individualized throughout. And it's not a big corporation with a big bureaucratic way of working.
Yeah. Because anytime when you deal with monopoly, something drops, right? Either you pay higher price or service drops. It's not good setup for consumers. It's not good for the industry. As an industry, if there's no competition or very little competition, what will happen, right? So,
Yeah, it's a story as old as time, right?
it was yesterday I saw that FCC sued Trulia and Redfin
Mhm.
because Trulia and Redfin are merging their rental business, and FCC sued them because it's monopoly. So it will be hard to argue the Compass thing is not monopoly. This is a far bigger monopoly. So, we don't know what will happen, whether the deal will go through. But I definitely don't like this trend in our industry where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just a trend in our industry. I mean, it's a trend in the world. I mean, look,
Yes.
and every single thing that you
Yes.
can buy is on Amazon and it's, they do the thing where they basically invite all of these smaller producers on there. They work their business and as soon as they become very popular, Amazon makes their product and basically puts them out of business. So it's cheaper at first, but then it's not cheap.
No, it's
So
not
it's a little bit
cheaper.
of a bait and switch, in
Oh,
general.
completely. Completely. Yes, right?
Yeah, we are very much in favor of small business, whether that be the local store down the road, your real estate brokerage, all those things, but with the tools and abilities to do things efficiently, so using tools. And there are a lot of tools out there that could be used without being part of a huge bureaucratic machine.
Completely. And also, it just depends on if you see everyone is the same, which eventually will be compass the way it's going. But if you truly value individualized service, you believe your realtor will help you in identify the right property and get you a good price and make sure you are protected in many, many ways.
And help you through the very emotional process of
Yes,
buying or selling a home, which, certainly, for some investors, it's just a numbers game and it's not as emotional. But for most people who are buying and selling a property, it's an incredibly emotional experience. And so
it's
it's
a huge
important
deal.
to find somebody to work with that you feel comfortable with, that you trust, that is gonna, you know, not send you to a phone tree service to get your help.
That's right. That's right. It's not a helpline or robot answering your questions 24/7. That's not how we
Yeah,
want to be.
and I do wanna say though, we're saying a lot of things about how we don't like the way that business is run necessarily, but I do also wanna say that I know many Compass agents who are incredibly, uh, good agents, right?
Oh, absolutely. Not
Just
not not to diss any individual
no,
agents.
not at
It's
all.
really the business model and the way, the industry is going.
Right.
It's a bigger picture. It's no, there are many wonderful, wonderful friends, colleagues we work with. We have lots of respect for them. So these comments are not towards them.
No, it's
It's
just the system. It's the
right.
system.
It's the system and the trend that
Yeah.
we dislike.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the things that's great about the San Francisco Bay Area in general. We probably mentioned this before, but because it's such a competitive market, you tend to have a higher caliber of agent in general. So, there's good agents and there's bad agents out there, but use your judgment. It's pretty easy to figure out who those are if you're paying attention.
Yeah. We will keep you updated as we move along. So maybe next quarter we will have some new info for you.
Yeah, see how some of these things have developed. It'll be interesting.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, take care.